Hi you guys, welcome back to my channel, Zazie Care Creations. My name is Keisha and I am here today to share with you more of my sewing journey. Specifically, I want to share with you how far I've gotten in the month of May. So you will remember earlier I gave you guys the video where I talked about my sewing plans for May and how I wanted to continue down the path of making skirts for the summer and maybe some matching tops to go along with those skirts. So I actually did a really good job at keeping with my plans. We're almost over with the month of May and I have some more time to get maybe one or two more items in, but I did go ahead and I did the matching skirts as I told you all I would for my daughters. This is the skirt that I did for my 6-year-old using that pretty LA Finch rayon fabric I purchased some time ago or a little while ago. And I had no problems with the elastic on this skirt. If you remember when I did my skirt like this, I had a lot of issues with my elastic being twisted. I lost it a few times. It just took a whole lot for me to get my skirt done. But I am happy to say that I was able to get her skirt done with no issues. I was able to get her encasing done. Her sizing was perfect. There were no concerns whatsoever with me working on her skirt, so that was really good. And I even had to do a pattern. I had to draft a pattern for her because I did not have a pattern drafted for her. So I drafted a pattern for her to wear, or so I could go ahead and sew up this skirt for her. And then for my 10-year-old, I did the same. Another skirt for her. It's much longer, as it should be. Again, I had no issues with the elastic casing. It went off without a hitch. Sizing was perfect. I see a couple of threads here that I'll have to snip away because I don't like having loose threads in my makes. So I have to go ahead and snip that away. I must have missed that when I finished the garment, but I'll snip that away. Actually, I'm going to go and do that right now. Let's go and snip these threads. Okay, so I snipped it away. Sorry guys, I just don't like to see loose threads, and I was afraid that if I didn't do it now, it wasn't going to get done. And I'll be extremely irritated with that. So I went ahead and snipped it away. But again, I had to do a self draft of a pattern for her skirt because I did not have one for her. And this skirt, I think, falls right below her knee. And my little one, my 6-year-old, I think hers stops right below her knee as well. And I plan to perhaps in June make some kind of matching top to go along with these two skirts for them. So happy about that. So that was done so far. And then my most exciting make, and more about what I'm gonna show you in this video, is I'm calling it a maxi skirt, but I don't think it's totally maxi. I have to try it on again just to make sure. But it is my maxi skirt that I did using that pretty Ankara fabric. It is pretty long, but I don't know that it actually falls to the maxi length. I have to try it on again to make sure. But this was a really challenging, well, not challenging, it wasn't really challenging, it was just something new. I was able to learn how to do 2 different techniques, actually 3 different techniques with this. What did I learn? I learned how to do the waistband with the interfacing. I learned how to do the gathering stitch around the waistband. I learned how to do a zipper insert. There's a zipper insert here. And a hook and eye, which you'll see there. So, let me tell you what I had to do, how this went. The waistband. I had to do a pattern draft for the waistband, and I did that using some simple craft paper. I did a waistband draft, and once I did that, I had to use the interfacing to give this some stiffness around the waistband, right? And the gathering stitch. So the gathering stitch, I think, started off a little bit of a challenge for me, only because, so I know whenever you do a gathering stitch, you're supposed to use the highest stitch length on your machine, and you're supposed to be able to just pull your threads through, right, to create that gather. So on my machine, the highest stitch length is a 7 on my brother, and I did use a straight stitch, a simple straight stitch. But for some reason on my test fabric, when I did that, I did not get a whole lot of gathering going on. It's gathering, but it was really, really tight. And I was afraid that if I kept trying to pull, I was gonna break this fabric, break this thread. So I tried a few times. I tried to adjust my stitch length some. I used my tension. I adjusted my tension on my machine a little bit, a few times, to see if that made much of a difference. And it really didn't make much of a difference at all. I was still not able to pull on this other end here. So I started to feel like, oh my goodness, what if this doesn't work? What if I'm not able to do a gathering stitch right now and this skirt has to be delayed? And I remembered that I purchased, when I first started sewing, when I first took interest in sewing, and most people go out and you buy all the things you need, all the things you think you need for sewing, and you really don't need them, but you buy them anyway. I went and purchased this really nice 32-piece presser foot set from Madame Sew. So this set has so many other types of presser feet in here that I can use. So what I did was I opened up my little case here, and I was thinking, hopefully I have a gathering foot. So I opened the case up, and lo and behold, I have this nice little manual here that tells you what type of presser feet you have, the different types of here. And I went through this guide, and I found that I had a gathering presser foot in my kit, and it was labeled as number 19, and I found it, number 19. So once I traded out my standard presser foot and put the gathering presser foot on, I looked at a couple of videos to figure out how to attach it and how to use it properly. I was then able to do a much, much better gathering stitch. And I don't know if this is the piece I tested or not. I don't think it is. I may have gotten rid of the piece I tested, but when I tested it again on my test fabric, it worked perfectly. Had no issues. I was able to gather. I was able to slide that thread on that fabric with no problems whatsoever. So I was able to continue with my make, and I was able to use that presser foot to finish off the gathering on this skirt here. So now I know whenever I do a gather on any type of fabric or any type of make I'm doing, I need to use my presser foot, my gathering presser foot, and not rely on my stitch and my needle and thread from my machine. So yeah, I was able to get that done. This was a lot of fabric. The length of this was quite long. I forget how much this was in width. I think it was like 102, might even be a little bit shorter or longer. I'm not sure, but yeah, I was able to take some time to gather my fabric here and then attach it to the waistband using my sewing machine. So that was that, and that turned out really good. The most challenging part, while I thought it may have been the gather, it wasn't. It was actually trying to install this zipper. So although it looks okay from here, it looks okay, when I turn it around, I can kind of see where some of the stitching, it's not as straight as it should be. There are some areas where I think it got a little off line a little bit, like I lost that seam allowance some. But I mean, for this to be my very first skirt inserting a zipper, I must say it's pretty good. I think I'm pretty happy with how this turned out. I'm definitely gonna be wearing it with lots of pride and joy. And then I went ahead and I had to purchase some iron hooks, and I had to insert the iron hooks here. Now, I did not realize that there is such a technique to attaching an eye and hook to a garment. I mean, there's really like a technique to that. Here it is. I thought, oh yeah, I'll just grab an eye and hook and I'll just sew it on and be done. No. I went on YouTube and there are thousands of videos out there on how to sew an eye and a hook. Not just that, there are different types of eye and hooks available. So, while it's not perfect, you can kind of see where it got it doesn't look as neat as I wanted it to or how it should look, but it's on here. In my next make, I'll do a much better job at trying to figure out or inserting or attaching the iron hook. But yeah, had to do the iron hook. I did buy some needles to go along with that, these circular needles, and I don't know, these curved needles, and I'm not sure if maybe because I had to put this needle not just through fabric but through interfacing as well, it just got really difficult trying to get that needle through here. So that was a bit of a challenge for me, but again, I'm not gonna like give up on that technique. It's a very basic and standard technique in sewing, and if I want to continue to learn and do this thing, I gotta learn how to do all the skills. So yeah, and even in the back, you can see where there might be a little bit of an overlap when I put this on. Like you can kind of see where this piece kind of overlaps a little bit, only because the iron hook wasn't centered or it wasn't applied with the same amount of seam allowance that I should have used. So I think the next time I'll have to actually measure, like literally take my seam gauge and measure the distance so that it's better aligned. But yeah, the one thing I didn't tell you guys, so when I did this waistband, because I was a little bit nervous about the gathering, having not done it before, there is a lot of fabric in here. Like my gather is almost like a half an inch, maybe an inch. Like my stitch lines, they should have been like an eighth of inch apart or a quarter of an inch apart. Mine are a lot further apart than that, so I had to have a lot of fabric gathered in here. So the next time, I think I'll make sure I create a smaller distance between my stitch lines so that I don't have as much fabric in this waistband. You can't tell because I ironed it pretty well. It's flat, you know, it ironed pretty good, but I know that there's a lot of fabric in here. So yeah, so that's the skirt. So I will be doing another one using the fabric I showed you guys in my previous video, the blue and red fabric I showed you, the other Ankara fabric. One thing I did buy that I didn't use it because I didn't have it yet, but I use this. I'm going to be using this ballpoint Bodkin in the future. So I saw another YouTuber, a sewist, who had mentioned using a bodkin to get the elastic through any width encasing. So basically you somehow attach maybe a safety pin or something to here with the elastic, and then this entire rod here goes through your encasing and you pull it through. I think it'll be much faster and a lot more efficient using this versus a safety pin. A safety pin, you have to feed and pull so much more, where I think this would be a lot more efficient. So I'll be using this moving forward or giving this a try whenever I do any type of elastic encasings and things of that nature. But yeah, so this was my my update on where I am on my sewing. I do have a few more weeks left to the month, maybe about a week and a half or so. It didn't take a lot of time to do this. I can't even tell you how much time it took to get this done. I guess in hours, maybe 3 hours total to get this done. So I think if I break that down again, you know, in my 30-minute increments, I can get another one of these skirts done before the month is out. So we'll see how that goes. I have a lot going on with home and work, and, you know, doing this after hours, and, you know, it gets late sometimes. The energy level's not always there, but I am going to do my very best to try to get another one of these skirts in before the month is out, or right at the beginning of June. I might be finishing up a second skirt. Yeah, so that is it. I did also have to rethread my serger. So I told you guys that I was a little bit intimidated by the serger. I opened it, I tested it a few times. I used it when I did my girl skirt and my skirt. And then when I got to this project, one of my threads started to get low in my machine. So I remembered I knew of a technique where I can sew on the new thread to the old thread just before it runs out, and it'll just feed through the machine. Well, I tried that and it did not work. I don't know if my thread was too tight. I don't know what, it wasn't tight enough. I don't know what happened, but it didn't feed through. I lost the thread in the machine, so I had to actually rethread my serger. So I had to rethread I think it's the lower looper. That's the very first thread, the thread on the far right of the machine. And the other looper, the one that's right next to that one. I had to rethread them both. And again, I started to get a little frustrated. I thought I was going to just not bother with it and just do a zigzag stitch, but I didn't want to give up that easily. So I went ahead and I found a video again on YouTube that I had already saved and had played 1,000 times, and I finally played it again. And this time I had my manual out, and I was able to read the manual, do the video, and do the threading. And once I did the threading, guys, it wasn't hard at all. It was just it was really simple. I can't believe I was so intimidated by it. It was just like, it took me a minute to figure it out. Once I figured it out, I was like, oh, that could take like 5 minutes, if that, moving forward, hopefully. I still haven't had to thread the other two. Let me show you guys what I'm referring to. Give me 1 second. Let's head over to the serger now. Okay, so here is the back of my serger. Here is the upper looper, lower looper, I think it is, and I forget what these two are called, but these are the two. These are the main threads that, if I understand correctly, if you don't get these threaded, you're gonna have a disaster in your machine. And when I threaded this the first time, it did not go over so smoothly. It didn't cut at all. Like my tester fabric, it was bunched up. It had a line going across it. It was just all wrong. And that's when I realized I did something incorrectly. So I took everything out, rethreaded it, and I went ahead and did another test after I read the manual and the video, and it worked perfectly fine. So these two were threaded easily. I don't know, I haven't had to thread these yet, but I hear that if I can get this threaded and this threaded, these two here should be a breeze. So I am really excited about that. And at some point I will come around. I'll show you guys now. So when you thread, see, you've got to get all up in here and get the thread all in there, right? And then come around and you gotta somehow get the thread through there. It's just a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot, but I did it. I was able to figure it out, and I'm happy about that. So yeah, so that is my update on where I am in my May sewing plans. I will come back and tell you all at the end of May how I was able to get my other skirt done, if I am able to get it done. And then I'll go into a little bit more about my June sewing plans, where I think I'll be trying to just make some tops to go along with these skirts here. I think I'll break it down like that. I'll do skirts this month and then maybe some tops next month. And if those tops are simple makes, I can maybe go into doing some other summer and spring and summer garment makes. So yeah, that's my video for now. And if you want to follow more about my journey, please follow me over on Instagram, ZaziK Creations. If you want to hear more about what I'm doing in my sewing world, feel free to subscribe and like this video, subscribe to my channel, like this video, and you will be in the know on what I'm doing as I move forward in my sewing journey. So thank you for watching. Until next time, God bless.